This episode brought to you by Unger, quality tools for smart cleaning. Welcome to this edition of AWC TV. We're going to be highlighting today a new feature that's going to appear in our July-August edition of American Window Cleaning Magazine. It's titled From the Lab to the Field. And it is basically the results and commentary on work that the IWCA Glass Committee has been doing. We're going to be interviewing today Henry Grover, and he is part of the IWCA Glass Committee. And one of the very interesting things that the Glass Committee was able to put together was they were able to do some research with Penn State. And Penn State has validated some of this research that they've done. And so we're really happy to have Henry Grover with us in our studios today. Henry, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and being with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you too very much.
So this research that the IWCA has done with Penn State as well, what led up to this? Why is this needed?
It's needed mostly because window cleaners have been running into the problem for many years now of scratches on glass. And this is a major problem because it's caused a lot of people to end up in lawsuits and have to pay out of their own pocket for lawyers to protect their own companies. So some of them have won and some of them have lost. Some of them have paid out substantial money over this particular issue. And you would think that most people would understand that this is a problem, but they don't necessarily, and that be not just window cleaners, but also and especially people in the work field, that be contractors and homeowners, real estate agents, and the list just goes on and on. But it is a major problem, and it's directly related to what's happening on the surface of the glass as the glass is being produced by the manufacturers.
Okay, so no one's going to argue with you whatsoever from the window cleaning industry that it's a problem, and it has been a problem for many years that glass scratches. So with this research, what type of glass? A lot of times we hear about the problems that are existing out there with tempered glass. So what type of glass was researched at Penn State?
They have researched in particular anneal glass and tempered glass. They looked at all glass and have determined that there is certain conditions that the glass has that causes the scratching problem. Usually that tends to be roughness. I know for myself, from my own experience, after cleaning windows for like 37 years now, I run into this problem a lot, where the glass surface is very, very rough. So therefore, it tends to scratch.
Okay, so this the type of conditions. When I read the article, and those they'll be anxiously anticipating it. So certain conditions do exist that, from what I'm understanding from this article, that cause the glass or make it at least a condition that scratches are going to happen. What exactly are those conditions?
Mostly roughness. So what the Glass Committee has been trying to do is figure out the reason for this roughness by using scientific equipment down there at Penn State.
Okay, so roughness on the glass. So is annealed glass still just as rough as tempered glass?
I would say it can be. I know from my own personal experience, I've run into annealed glass that has actually been, from time to time, even more rough than certain tempered glass. So it can definitely be.
Okay. The glass that was researched by Penn State in this particular case, this was both tempered and annealed glass, and they had similar results or findings on both. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they had findings that demonstrated that when the surface of the glass is heated to a very high temperature, which you would encounter from time to time out there in the field, especially for the southern states. And also the humidity was very high, up to 90%. Then there are certain chemical changes that happen on the surface of the glass where it becomes much more likely to scratch or even take on small breaks in the surface on a microscopic level. And they used micro indenters and nano indenters to determine that.
So one, I guess, criticism or being critical here a bit of the IWCA Glass Committee is that a lot of I've sat through several of their meetings and things, or not meetings, but presentations that they've had at the IWCA convention and things like that. And the level of research, I don't think anybody can question because nobody has the knowledge to question. But that also is the problem, is that most of us window cleaners don't understand things on a scientific level. So what's the Glass Committee doing to bring that information that they're receiving down to a level where us window cleaners can actually understand it?
They're using me and other people too.
Okay.
to get this information out there. And this is one of the ways that we're doing it. And you're helping us to accomplish that. So I thank you very much.
No problem. I'm as interested in this issue as anybody is. So I guess the question that's always going to be on everybody's mind, and not to put you on the spot here, but so for years and years, we've called this issue a fabricating debris issue. Is the IWCA Glass Committee ready to say it is absolutely not fabricating debris?
I think what we're trying to understand, and there is definitely a situation going on where most of the problems that have been identified are with tempered glass, but to know the difference between the two and to understand how many more problems per se are happening with the tempered as opposed to the annealed, this is something that we should be taking records of right now. As we're out there working, doing houses, commercial buildings, whatever, we need to be compiling a list of these different problems that we encounter. And that way we'll know much better exactly what is happening. This last year is going to be focusing on tempered glass specifically, I believe. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where we're going with this. We're trying to understand exactly what the true nature of this problem is. I know myself from my own personal experience, I've had a very difficult time explaining the differences in the problems that happen for both annealed and tempered glass. I can't necessarily explain the reason why there's so much of a difference in the problems. I've had some situations where the glass has scratched very, very lightly, such that you could hardly notice it or see it at all, except in the direct sunlight at a certain angle. And then other times, it seems like the particles, if they were particles, but at this point in time, I don't believe they are, although my experience would seem to lead me otherwise, appear to be very large. And the sound is completely different. The feeling of the surface is completely different. If it were happening the way we believed it to happen for the last 20 odd years, then there shouldn't be that much of a difference between the two, but there is, and everything in between. So that's one of my questions, is why. Another question that I've always had myself is why every time there's a problem, the surface is rough, but the scratching can be very different from one plate to another. It shouldn't be that way. It should be consistent, but it's not. So again, the question, why?
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out.
So that makes sense. And being a window cleaner, I've seen that myself. I've seen deep scratches across, and I've also seen very light, faint scratches. So we're not ready to say just yet that it's not one thing or the other. We're trying to still figure out, why is there a difference in these types of scratches?
Yes, we're getting right down to it. We're getting very, very close. We've already discovered some amazing things by using water to remove sodium atoms, selectively removing them so that we can see more of what's happening on the surface. Also by seeing how easily different surfaces are to crack or to scratch, because the scratches begin with a crack, very, very small, so small you can't see it. But a scratch will always begin with a crack. So again, the conditions surrounding these problems have a great deal to do with whether the problems even happen.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate the research that IWCA is doing. Certainly, the level of research that's being done by an accredited college like that is is pretty awesome. I appreciate that. I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you being on the show today. And we look forward to, hopefully you'll continue to keep us updated at AWC TV and magazine on the findings of the IWCA Glass Committee.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So for all of our readers and listeners, this is an ongoing thing that has affected us all as window cleaners. And so we're really happy at AWC Magazine to bring you this new segment of the magazine called From the Lab to the Field, where we'll continually be updating the readers and the viewers on the findings of the IWCA Glass Committee so that we can be better educated in the field and more professional, as a matter of fact. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm Mike, signing off with AWC Magazine. Stay tuned for our next episode of AWC TV by following us on YouTube, Facebook, or our website, awcmag.com.